Welcome back to Chessbox Worldwide, the center of African chess. This is the Wampeewo Ntakke SS Chess Championship, and Ajiri Benjamin, who is a 300 rated chess player on the chess and a 3-time national junior champion, taking on Kairu Jacob, a promising youngster in the African chess. And this is going to be an interesting game played between the two youngsters. Ajiri in the white pieces, Kairu begins the clock in the black pieces, and off we go. This is round 7. D4 is played, and Kairu Jacob also responds with D5, and also Ajiri Benjamin Netanyahu is also ready for action. He plays C4. Kairu Jacob to respond the black pieces, and now we see E6. This is the Queen's Gambit declined. So many interesting variations and continuations have been seen in this position. Knight comes out in this position. Knight C3, G3, all these are options to be played in the game. Bishop G5, he plays G3, trying to fianchetto the white bishop. Bishop B4 is also an interesting move which you can find in the game. Bishop E7 also can be thought of. Also B6 can also be a nice move here. So Kairu Jacob plays B6, and Ajiri Benjamin Netanyahu has to respond. He has to continue with his plan. Bishop comes to G2, and short castling, which has to be obeyed as he planned the game. He goes ahead to play bishop comes to G2, and in the position we see knight coming in. In this position, pawn takes or short castling can be unspated in the position. But this is the 3-time national junior champion Ajiri Benjamin. He has a plan for his game. He has seen these tournaments of youngsters for a long time. He has won them for a long time, and we expect fireworks in the game. He first of all takes the pawn, and Kairu Jacob also has to respond. He also takes the pawn. Now he wants to blunt the bishop, which is going to sit here to be hitting on its own pawn. So it means in this position, short castling is by far the best. Yes, he goes on with short castling, and Kairu Jacob also responds by playing bishop comes to D6. Knight C3 is good. Bishop comes to G5 is also a good one. Let's see what Ajiri Benjamin picks on to play. These are all interesting continuations in the position. We see there Coach Mokasa sits as he watches on the game, the coach of KTLC. So in this position, there are too many interesting continuations. For example, knight comes to B5, attacking the bishop on D6 can be unspated. So S6 can come into mind, or also short castling, which can be played. And after knight H4, C6, knight comes to F5, bishop C7, bishop G5. This is a continuation which is so interesting. Let's go back. After knight C3, we see Kairu Jacob takes on his time, and he has to think of the best move in the position. Ajiri Benjamin looks at the opponent's board, where on board 2 we are having Muhiro Alvin taking on his opponent, and on the other hand we have Wawira Ronald also taking on his opponent. Ajiri Benjamin Netanyahu is having 6 out of 6, an impressive result in this tournament, and Kairu Jacob also has 5 points because he has 2 draws. So it means he has to fight to get a result from this game if he wants to win the tournament, and Ajiri Benjamin just needs a draw in the white pieces to go on to get a result. So he plays S6, stopping the knight jump, and in this position Ajiri Benjamin goes on and plays the best move. Knight comes to H4 coming in. In case of G6, which can't work out because the immediate pawn which is on D5 is going to fall, so G6 is out of the position. You have to just go on and play bishop comes to B7, defending your pawn on D5, because in case of any G6 it can't work on D5. So Kairu first of all defends his pawn, and now knight comes in, attacking the bishop on D6 with a short castling from Jacob. And now queen B3 is also good. Knight takes on bishop. Yes, knight takes on bishop, pawn takes on bishop, and in this position bishop F4 is good, queen B3 is good. All these are moves which have to be thought of in the game. So first of all he plays bishop, and in this position knight E4 is a very nice one. For example, for knight E4 we shall see moves like knight takes, D takes, bishop takes D6, and rook E8. Those are interesting moves to be played in the position. In the position still, queen E7 can be thought of. Let's see what he picks on. Knight E4, looks very risky, but queen e7 looks simple. But the problem, I don't know how Kairu Jacob has planned to meet queen b3 and queen comes to either these two squares. Yes, he goes ahead and plays queen e7, but the problem is queen b3 is also good. Now you see that the bishop, the knight and the queen will be attacking the pawn on d5, and I don't know how he's going to meet either queen comes to b4 or queen comes to a3 attacking the pawn which is on d6. I don't know which plan he has to solve this puzzle. Pawn which is on b2 is being protected by the knight, so Ajiri first of all plays queen b3 hitting on the pawn, and now planning to go either queen comes to b4 or queen comes to a3. So rook has to come in on c6 giving space, and the knight can still fall back to defend the pawn which is on d6. Let's see how Kairu Jacob solves this puzzle. Queen comes to either to b4 or a6 attacking the pawn. These are all interesting moves. So he first of all plays queen e6, queen comes to b4 or a3. All those are interesting ones, which interesting moves which Ajiri Benjamin can find in the position, which is here has to be given guard. So he goes ahead and plays rook comes to e1, like pawn comes to e4 can be put into thought, or even the queen move can be put into question. But this is interesting. So remember also the rook has to move this side, the knight can fall down to defend. Now this is very, very interesting. The game is becoming very tense for Kairu. So he first of all goes ahead and plays rook comes to e8, and now queen b4 is played instantly by Ajiri Benjamin. Knight e4 is the only move which he can try to play in the position. For example, after knight e4 we shall see moves like rook coming to c1, rook comes to c8, knight takes, and after d takes, queen takes d6, the weak spot, bishop d5 centralizing the piece, and now we shall see h4, and after pawn comes into h5, b3, then we see knight comes to f6, queen takes e6. This is a continuation which we are anticipating to see in the game. Battles between youngsters can never end. This is so interesting. So Ajiri Benjamin first moves off the board, leaves Kairu Jacob to think of the best move in the position, praying for his god to save him. Knight e4 is the only saving move he has to think of. So he goes on to play pawn comes in, and Ajiri goes on to take the pawn, queen takes, and then bishop takes. Let's see. So now it is Kairu Jacob to find the move in the game. He goes on to play knight comes in, attacking the bishop, and now in this position knight b5 is anticipated, comes in, then we shall see bishop takes, rook takes, knight c7, rook d8, rook c1, knight b8, bishop comes to e5, rook g4, rook c3. But in this position he goes on and he blunders a full piece. He plays rook comes to c1, and Kairu Jacob instantly takes the bishop which is on d6. Oh my god, Ajiri Benjamin, I don't know if he was planning something, but he has just blundered a full piece, and Kairu Jacob takes on the piece. Bishop takes, also takes, bishop takes the knight, and bishop takes the pawn on d5. This is going to be very, very tough for Ajiri Benjamin to play this game. He's now a full piece down, and under normal circumstances this is a lost game for Ajiri Benjamin, because Kairu can never forgive a mistake. He goes on and plays rook comes in, and now rook comes in to attack the knight. So in case of rook takes, then the bishop is going to be pinning the knight and the rook. So it means Kairu Jacob has to think accordingly, because if he doesn't take, the other rook is going to come and be down here. So rook takes, bishop takes, and now you have to go ahead and move away from the pin, defending your knight, rook down. So he plays on pawn comes to e4, trying to use the center pawns to create havoc for Kairu. But now Kairu understands that this is his time to shine. This is his moment. This is his time. So he has to move away. The knight goes to f8, not knight coming in here because of the potential fork which can enter the two knights and losing a piece. Knight b8 can be thought of attacking the bishop which is on c6. These are moves which can be anticipated. Yes, he goes on and picks on one. He plays knight f8, which is a dubious move. Knight b8. Knight b8 was a better move, but let's see how Ajiri Benjamin proceeds in this game. d5 in this position is the best move which can be thought of by Ajiri, trying to create and connect his pieces with the bishop. He has to move his pawns in the white squares. Oh my god, he plays rook comes in, which is not a good move because of the potential knight comes to c4. Remember, the rook is going to be attacking the pawn. In case of rook comes to d3, the knight is going to be forking the bishop and the rook. So let's see what Kairu Jacob can find in the position. Yes, he finds it. He plays knight comes to c4, attacking the rook. Remember also the rook is going to be attacking the pawn, which is on d5. So on d4, so he plays rook comes in. Now the knight coming in, it's a very good move. So he finds it, knight comes in, and now he can take on one of the pieces. Rook comes out. Now Kairu Jacob can win the pawn. He wins the pawn. Rook takes pawn, and now after taking the pawn, bishop is attacking the pawn. And when you are winning the game, you have to be more calm because you don't need to push anything. This rook is eyeing the square. Okay, goes on play. Knight comes to d7, trying to maneuver the knights back again to where they're supposed to be. Now Ajiri Benjamin has to bring rook comes into c7, attacking the knight, because now the bishop and the rook are going to be eyeing this pawn, which is on f7. So he has to stop the next move which is going to happen. So Ajiri Benjamin pawn comes in, stopping any, just plays a waiting move. And now Kairu Jacob has to play knight comes into c5, blocking the passage for the rook. But now remember, if he plays that move, rook comes in here, so rook has to come in here. Oh my god, Ajiri doesn't find it. He plays pawn comes in this side. Now Kairu comes in with another piece. He brings in another knight. The more pieces you bring, the more chances of consolidating and trying to create havoc for the 3-time national junior champion. 3 wins against Kairu Jacob. First of all, he brings the rook, because remember, the king is the best attacking piece in endgame. So Kairu Jacob requests for an exchange because he believes the piece up. If he gets an exchange, the game is going to be good. He's attacking the pawn, which is on f3, at the same time requesting for an exchange. And if Ajiri gives out the rook, so it means this is a dead lost game. Let's see what Ajiri can think of. So he goes on and plays rook comes in. So pawn to fix the pieces can be seen, but he takes on the pawn, and now the king moves away from harm's way. Yes, he plays. So rook checks the king, and the king has to move away from harm's way. So king moves away. So rook has to come in on b3, trying to attack the pawn, which is on b3. For example, in case of rook comes in to attack the pawn, in case of rook comes this side, rook can take, and after rook takes, then knight can come in to check, forking the king and the rook. Let's go back. After king e1, let's see if Kairu Jacob can find this move. So he goes on and plays rook check. Let's see what Ajiri Benjamin goes on to play in the game. Those were tactics which could be played in the position. So king moves away, and now on the clock, Kairu Jacob has 5 minutes and Ajiri Benjamin has 11 minutes. This is a rapid game, 15 plus 10 seconds increment. Let's see what he has to play in the game. Kairu Jacob can't draw this game because it's a full piece up. He can't risk, but the problem is he has bank rank issues. The king has nowhere to go to. In case of any check, he has to suffer out. So he goes ahead and plays check by the rook. and Ajiri Benjamin has to move away from. Yes, he has to move away from. Yes, he plays. Pawn comes here, so knight coming in this side can be very interesting. So knight coming in. Okay, oh my god, he plays. Pawn comes in, attacking the rook, and after attacking the rook, now tactics happen to be on the board. Now he has to win the rook to save it. Yes, he wins the rook. Pawn takes, and now this is a dead lost game for Ajiri Benjamin, but he has to fight on. Bishop takes because of time. Then now rook comes in this side, and now Ajiri Benjamin has to think of the best move. Yes, he goes on to play. Rook comes in. Then now rook comes in here to begin attacking. Remember, the knight and the rook are also focusing on the pawn. So Ajiri Benjamin tries to push the passed pawns. Remember, passed pawns have to be pushed. And now these pawns have to be pushed. Remember, now the pawn which is on e4 is now hanging. He can now pick it. Yes, he picks the pawn with the knight. And now pawn is advanced forward. Passed pawns have to be pushed. And Kairu Jacob knows that now he is winning this game. He has simple moves. Knight comes c4. Knight comes to a6. And then he can pick this pawn. So he can try to see how best he can. Yes, he goes ahead and plays this move. So Ajiri Benjamin proceeds with pushing the pawn. Remember, the rook has cut off the king. And now, after cutting off the king, knight comes to a6. Yes. So now he's eyeing to stop the pawn at the end of its way to graduate into a queen. He believes he's winning this game. Let's see what he anticipates. The game has been very tough, very marvelous, and let's see how Ajiri Benjamin can change the magic to be in his favor. He pushes the pawn forward, but remember, the knight is watching where the pawn has to graduate from. Let's see what he has to play. Even Kairu can just bring the king and can meet that pawn with ease. Let's see. Remember the king. Yes, he plays king comes to f8, coming to take on the pawn. Let's see what Ajiri Benjamin has planned for the game. He goes on and he has to think of the move to play. He goes on and then he has to take his time, find the best move. He first of all attacks the rook, and after attacking the rook, rook cuts off, showing him that you can't move away from this, and I'm ready to go on and pick this pawn by the king. In this position, Ajiri Benjamin resigns the game, and it's the first time Kairu Jacob beats the 3-time national junior champion. He gets 6 points in the black side now. Both of them have 6 points, and we don't know who is going to be the winner of the tournament. Thank you for watching, and I wish you the best of luck in your game. Thank you so much. He shows him where the mistake was.